Hey guys, Epicenter Brian here. Hey, I am working on a little chicken project for the freeze dryer, and I thought I'd show you what I'm up to. My local Albertsons had bone-in, skin-on chicken quarters, a bag of 10 pounds for $5. So 50 cents a pound. They had a limit of 4 bags, so I got 40 pounds worth. And this is the last piece. Now what I've been doing is I've been pressure cooking for about 40 minutes, 4 pieces at a time. That's how much I could fit in this unit. And then I've been stripping the meat off, and then I take this and I rinse all the, any residual fat off of it, and then put it on a freeze-dry tray. I'm going to take this broth and we're going to freeze dry this, and I'm going to show you how to do the freeze dry broth, things like this that are very, very liquidy. Anyway, here's the very last piece, and let's pull that out. Now I've been using the same water, the same broth for the entire 20 pounds on this batch, and the liquid from the last batch I already freeze dried. Anyway, so that's about it. I'm going to get this ready, and we'll be dealing with this. The chicken is done. So this was 20 pounds. Now the last time I did 20 pounds, I ended up with 2 number 10 cans, and then also this container. This is the next day. And you can see that there's a lot of fat up here, so I'm going to start removing all the fat. It's really important to get every bit of fat that you can possibly get out of there out before you freeze dry it. That's going to help the shelf life, but it's also going to keep the inside of your freeze dryer from becoming a mess. And here's the first update. That's how much I've pulled out so far, and making good progress. And I'm using the little cheese cutter spatula thing because that's what I've got at the warehouse, and it's worked, so I keep using it. That's what came out, and that's what it looks like now that I've done my absolute best at getting everything out of there. So I'm going to get the freeze dryer set up, and I'll show you how to do this. Now this pot I'm going to put back on the stove and warm it up just ever so slightly. Just right now it's sort of a gel, and I want it to be able to pour easily so that I can pour it through my little strainer and then pour it on the trays. Now I'm going to show you how to set up the machine. Now you're going to need a level to do this. Now you can use a fancy dancy one like this, or you can use a super cheap one like that. And actually this one works really well too. This comes from Harbor Freight, and it costs probably about $1. I think everybody can afford one of those. So we're going to do 2 adjustments on this right now. We're going to set the tray rack in here so that it's level. And you can see that there's a bubble here, and it's a little bit over to the right. So I'm going to grab a hold of the rack itself, and I'm going to rotate that until that bubble, whoops, went the wrong way. There we go, until the bubble is right in the center on those two. There you go. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay, now we're going to set the front to back, and you can see that that is not level, and that's intentional. We always have the front of the machine higher than the back of the machine, and that way we can drain the water at the end of the batch. But for freeze drying this chicken broth, we're going to want this level, because I'm going to actually freeze the chicken broth in the freeze dryer. Now you can freeze the chicken broth in a freezer ahead of time, and you have to go through the same kind of procedure. You need to get the trays level. Pour your chicken broth in there, and then put spacers so you can put another tray in there and continue that process. It works. I've done it before, but it turns out it's really easy to just set it up in the freeze dryer, as long as you adjust the shelves and the tilt of the back. Okay, so anyway, as you've seen, this bubble is quite a bit this way. Okay, now in the front, I have this on a cart, and I have a piece of wood here so that the cart itself won't move in this direction. So let's come back here. Back here, I have a piece of metal sitting down here. Now that sits underneath of the freeze dryer itself, and there's still a gap there. This isn't actually touching the freeze dryer. But the combination of that piece of metal and this piece of wood, I've found adjusts the height perfectly. So what I do, I can't do this one-handed, but what I do is I put my hand up here and I push on the freeze dryer. I think you can see I'm tilting that, okay? And down here, I'm making that gap big enough that I can put in the wood. So let me set the camera down and I'll just put the wood in here real quick. Okay, now the wood is in there, and let's take a look up here at our level. And there we go. I hope you can see this. I probably should have set up some lighting, but anyway, that's level that way, and it's level this way as well. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start up the freeze dryer. I'm going to run this on a 12-12 cycle, but I'm going to add an extra hour on the front end. So I'm going to set it for 13 hours freeze, 12 hours dry. That way the chamber starts getting cold before I put the liquid in there. Okay, it's 5 degrees in there now, and this is a standard size, the medium model. And the trays can hold 1 quart each tray. So I've got a quart here ready to go, and just going to go ahead and start filling that up. And then I'll do the same for the other 3 trays. We're going to put a grand total of 1 gallon in here. Now when you slide this in, you're going to want to do it very slowly. If it catches in the back, you just have to wiggle it a little bit. Alright, you can see it's all done, and there is a lot of ice in here. So we're going to start defrosting this and getting it packaged up. Remember to take this spacer out, and also make sure that your valve over here is accessible. Here's what the chicken broth looks like now that it's done. And it just looks like big sheets of styrofoam. So anyway, I've got a blender set up, and I'm going to start blending that. This is 1 tray worth, and so we're just going to put this on chop mode. Alright, well that's what 1 gallon looks like, and it's just over. This is a ½ gallon container, so 1 gallon of broth takes up about 1 quart size. That's it for the Epicenter.com. I'm Epicenter Brian, signing out.